Welcome to Unleashing Happiness, the podcast where I teach you how to change your mindset, change your habits, and actually change your life. We have made it to week 6 of the bonus episodes to really change your mindset, change your habits, literally change your life. I know that I keep saying that, and it may seem like that is an impossible task, but it really is not. Everyone listening, myself speaking, anybody that you share this with, everybody has the ability and the capability to change their life. It really does take just some minor tweaks to the way that you're behaving and truly starting off small, really taking a look at kind of these small actions and behaviors and beliefs and emotional reactions that you allow to kind of continue in your life is the quickest way to start changing your life. The very smallest of actions can actually lead to the most profound change. And you'll notice that in time, the more that you continue to come back to these habit changes and changing your mindset. And that's really what this course is about. I wanted to put this really great information, or at least what I thought was really great information, into a very easy to follow 10-week course. Every week you have kind of something to focus on. It should not be overwhelming or too much. And it should also not feel like some great effort on your part. This is really about you being able to make small, sustainable changes in your life for lasting happiness, like increased happiness and lasting joy that will be part of your life. And this is not to say, full disclaimer, that you'll never be frustrated or that you'll never feel sad or that you'll never experience grief again. Those are all part of this human experience that we have. And part of this process is also learning how to stop labeling certain emotions as bad. You can look at them as more indifferent. And even if you want to use the word negative, I think that's fine. I definitely do. I tend to use more unwanted, but sometimes those feelings, even the ones that are unwanted or negative or that you may deem bad, they're still educational for you. They're teaching you something about where you are. So if you feel guilt about something, where is that stemming from? What desire do you have that you are feeling guilty about? And why do you feel guilty about it? What is it that's at the core of the belief of yourself and what you hold true for your identity is making you feel guilty for wanting this desire? And it can be all sorts of things, right? It can be that you made a commitment to something or someone and you feel like your current desire is outside of that commitment. And that's not the type of person that you want to be. And that's a tough spot to be in, right? Or it could be that society says that this desire that you have is one that you should not have. I hear this a lot for folks that want wealth. They struggle a bit with feeling like, well, the wealthy is not giving back enough. They're kind of keeping the poor down. Wealthy people aren't great people. They're high and mighty, whatever it is. And that can stem from like the society that you're looking at, the relationships that you keep, maybe your family, yourself. There's something, that kind of triggered this feeling within you. And a lot of this course is to show you that you don't actually need to label these things as good or bad. You don't need to label emotions as negative or positive. The more that you're able to just look at them as an emotion, as a thought, as a feeling, and not put much more meaning behind it, and instead get really curious about yourself, the more likely you are to not continue to spiral down, kind of beating yourself up or feeling like you're not on the right track or kind of falling off the wagon, I guess is a good way of putting it. So the more that you're able to just look at the things that you feel as an experience and as a learning experience, right? Or a learning opportunity, the better. And that's not to say that there's not times that you won't be in despair. And when you are feel that. Don't try to not allow yourself to feel it. I'm thinking of like the death of a loved one, or a family member being sick, or a friend getting into an accident. Those are really heavy times in life. I don't know anybody that unfortunately will not experience grief at some point in their life, and grief can really take over. And it's okay to feel that grief. It's okay to know that you're going to miss somebody, or that you at least miss having them around in the way that they were. And grief doesn't necessarily just need to be like a death. You can grieve the loss of a relationship. You can grieve the loss of part of yourself as things are changing. And it's okay to feel that. The more emotional intelligence that you learn, and the more that you kind of learn about your own states and providing yourself joy, the more resilient you'll be able to be in those moments. That does not mean that you won't feel that, but you will be able to handle it a bit better. And some of the topic for our week 6 of this 10 weeks of bonus episodes is to talk about kind of what taking action means and how your compelled actions align with your state. So we've talked a lot about what your state is and how you identify yourself. And so your identity is essentially your state. Those words can really be used interchangeably, and I definitely use them that way. But so your state is anything that you believe of yourself. A lot of times you'll hear that be referred to as like your concept of self or self-concept. And it's really just the ways that you see you. It's the identity that you hold of yourself. So you may see yourself as a very like honest, loyal, fun, outgoing person, or you could see yourself as introverted, very smart, really good friend, great listener, and very loyal and honest. So you could mix and match these two together and kind of see where there's different states. Like you could see yourself as somebody who's kind of a Rico Suave, definitely gets a lot of ladies, and see yourself as someone who struggles with money. I actually see this a lot when I think about someone like Oprah. So Oprah talks a lot about manifestation and the stuff that she's brought into her life. And clearly she is someone who is able to see herself as successful, hardworking, and driven. But an area in life that she has struggled with has essentially been weight. So there are things that you can maybe find are a little bit easier for you to obtain, easier for you to see yourself in that identity, and then some areas that you may struggle. So somebody may have no issues with money, but they're definitely struggling in the love department. Or maybe they, get people like lovers, like there's no tomorrow, not an issue at all. They're always in these great fulfilling relationships and getting their needs met. But in the money situation, they're definitely struggling. Or it could be even like an outgoing, introverted kind of thing where somebody sees themselves as really great with like making money and getting a partner, like a life partner, but they're struggling kind of with the way that they see themselves and their self-confidence with physical attributes. So there's a bunch of different mixes, and essentially it's just who you see yourself as. It's your concept of yourself. And as you change your concept of yourself, you'll notice that your desires change. So when you start this whole process, you may have a desired outcome in mind. Like let's say it's a specific person, right? And you're really in love with your ex and you want to bring them back into your life. And so that could be the focus when you get started on something like this. And the more that you move through it, you may find like, actually, that's not the person that I want. I'm actually just seeking love in my life. I'm seeking a really honest and open person. And you may find that, no, actually, this person is who I want. I'm confident in myself. I feel good about who I am in the position that I'm in. And that is still the person that I feel is supposed to be my partner. And it could be for anything, right? And this could be for any desire that you have. So if those kind of things change for you over the course of working on this, don't be alarmed. They may change, they may not. Usually some sort of desire shifts as your state and your concept of self shifts. You'll see those shifts come out in your life. I want to read a piece from Freedom for All by Neville Goddard. In chapter 7, which is called Desire, the Word of God. Man desires freedom from his limitation or problem. The first thing he does after he defines his objective is to condition it upon something else. He begins to speculate on the manner of acquiring it. You may find that you do this. I know that that's what I found. There's no way I'm the only one who did this, where I would have an aim in mind, a desired outcome, and I would want to condition it. I would want to start believing in the way it was going to come to me. And any time that we have a desire, the reason we have that desire is because it's attainable for us. There's nothing you can imagine that is not obtainable for you. Now, you getting to that is all based on your own belief, the assumptions that you make, and the work that you put in. And that's not work as an effort, but it's work in saying, I'm going to consciously change where my mind and where my attention is onto this desired outcome. And I'm going to make a choice each day to start aligning my habits, and my habits can be a physical habit or an emotional reaction habit, but I'm going to start aligning those habits to this person that I want to be. And the person that I want to be is the one that has this desired outcome. Hopefully that makes sense. Here's another piece from that same chapter. Your desires are determined by your conception of yourself. Your desires are the natural and automatic result of your present conception of yourself. As long as you remain in your present conscious state, so long will you continue desiring that which you now desire. Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the nature of your desires. So I want us to stop and think about that one for a minute. Your conception of yourself is also driving your desires. Meaning the habits that you naturally fall into are a direct reflection of the state that you're in. So if you are in a state that you feel desperate for the attention of someone else, you are going to act out those actions that you have, what you are compelled to do, the actions that you want to do, the beliefs that you have, the thoughts that come up in your mind are all going to be aligned to someone who is desperate for this attention from this other person. Whereas if you are in a relationship that you feel completely secure, even if now and then you have some jealousy issues or insecurities that bubble up based on your past experiences and your perception of the world and how relationships work, at the core, you still feel trust and love from this person. So you're not acting out in the same way. If you really are honest with yourself and you consider what would be the habits of someone in this position, do I currently behave that way? How do I want to feel when I go to bed at night? I share this question a lot because I think it's one of the most important things you can ask yourself. How do I want to feel when I go to bed? Is my current action, the one that I'm about to partake in, the habit that I'm about to fall into, is that aligned with the person that I'm saying I want to be? If it's not, then let's start making some habit changes. A habit loop is kicked off by a cue. That cue can be a person, it can be a place, it can be a smell, it can be a song, it can be you driving down a certain road, it could be you stubbing your toe. A cue can essentially be anything that triggers a routine off in your mind. And that routine can be physical. Let's say that you wake up in the morning, you likely follow the same routine. Or let's say that you get into the car to drive to work. You probably turn on, let's say if you're a podcast listener, you put on a podcast and then you drive the exact same way to work that you always drive. Those are the routines, the physical routines that you go into. But a routine can also be emotional. So let's say you're driving in the car and on the radio, a song comes on that reminds you of your ex. And suddenly you are finding yourself upset about the last time you guys spoke. And now you are in an emotional routine. So you've fallen into the routine based on the cue of hearing this song. Or another gentleman walks by you and he smells the same way that your ex smelled. And suddenly you are back in that emotional routine of thinking about that ex. And honestly, that could be anger, right? It doesn't have to be a longing or a wanting them. It could be a like, oh my gosh, that guy still makes me mad. Or, ugh, I never want to smell that again. But that's still a routine. You're falling into that. Once you go through your routine, you're getting some sort of reward. A lot of times I think it's difficult to recognize that there is a reward even in our unwanted routines. So let's say that you're someone who social media stalks your crush. You may not like the fact that you do that. You may not feel good with what you see, but you're still seeking the reward, which is likely a reward in saying that you got confirmation that you were wrong, right? Maybe you thought they were dating somebody else and you see that that's not happening. The person that was on their story is their cousin. Now you have this reward that's been built into your brain. So then the next time that you have that cue, you're even more likely now to fall into that routine because you've received a reward for it. The same happens with smokers. A smoker may consciously know, if I smoke, I'm going to smell bad. It's not good for me, and I really want to quit. It's super expensive, and it's an awful habit. I don't want to continue. But when they smoke, they get a chemical reward. It relaxes them. It forces a relaxation. Whether you realize that or not, the chemical compounds of a cigarette create a relaxation state. So that's the reward that they're getting. So then they're more likely to fall into the cue of, or fall into the routine once they have a cue of wanting a cigarette. So that's how a habit loop works. You've got your cue, kicks you off into a routine, you get a reward, and then your mind says, yes, we liked this. We're going to do this one again. And the more often that you do it, the more that you are physically and honestly rewiring your brain to fall back into that same routine yet again. So what we want to do is we want to start breaking these routines. And you can break these routines with your habits. And the more that you break a routine and the more that you align with your ideal self, you're doing a few things for yourself. One, you're actually showing up for yourself. Every time that you do something that you said you would do, you are confirming to yourself that you keep promises to yourself, that you can do things even when they're hard, and you're creating better resilience. And you are also helping your own self-discipline. And I'm telling you, self-discipline is one of the greatest things that you can have throughout this entire process. The better self-discipline you have, the more success you're going to have. It's one of the greatest skills that you can have, and it will get better with practice. So that's why I start small. That's why I recommend a to-do list. And on that to-do list, do things that you know you're going to do. Literally, I have to-do lists that tell me to shower. And then I cross it off. Oh, yep, I showered again today. Go me. Or I'll have to-do lists. My to-do list almost every single day says make the bed. I make the bed every day. I like going into my room and having a room that is clean and refreshed and my bed is made and it just feels better to me. So I make my bed every single day, but it still goes on my to-do list that I'm going to make my bed. I have reading on my to-do list, and I have bigger items too, right? Like I'm working on a book. So I will say that every day I'm going to write at least one paragraph in my book. And usually what happens is I sit down to write that paragraph, and that paragraph ends up being like 3 pages. And I feel really good about myself because I've shown up for myself. I'm doing the things that I say I'm going to do. And the more often that you don't show up for yourself, the more that you are letting yourself down. If I told a friend, let's meet for coffee at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I didn't show up, and they're like, what the heck? You didn't show up. I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'll show up tomorrow. 8 a.m. coffee tomorrow. Let's show up. And then again, I don't show up. And somebody did that to you repeatedly. Would you believe that they were going to show up for you? You've got to start thinking of yourself the same way that you would a friend and start showing up for yourself and really recognizing those small wins that you're doing for you. That's why I always promote this daily joys. The more that you can give yourself joy, the more that you're telling yourself, I love you. I'm going to do things that are good for you. I want us to feel good. I want us to be taken care of. And the best person to take care of you is you. And you have to give to yourself first. The other thing that you're doing every time you show up for yourself like this is you're confirming this new identity. So I want to be a writer. I've always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to put a book out. I've always started and dropped it until now. And it's because I started to change my habits. I started to work on my mindset, and I started to become more disciplined for the things that I was doing for myself. And so I wanted to be a writer. I want to be a published writer. I want to put a book out for everybody that's listening here. I want to put a book out that definitely helps you obtain the life that you want to live, a life that you absolutely love, that you cherish, that you feel joy in, that you have happiness, that you're seeing the things in the world that you want to see, because every single one of us is not only capable, but absolutely freaking deserving of having that life. And if you could see me right now, so I'm Italian, I talk with my hands, and I am talking with my hands so much recording this because I believe in it so much. I want my inbox flooding with people who are like, holy cow, Cecilia, I did what you said to do, and my life has improved. I feel better. I have more energy. I have more time in my day. I'm happier. My partnerships are happier. My relationships are happier. I mean, like, I told a friend recently that I felt so good that I wanted to like put it in a ball in my hand. I'm getting a little aggressive right now because I'm so excited, but I put it into a ball in my hand and just would throw it at them. And so that they would be covered in this amazing feeling that I have, because I want everybody to have that. So just imagine every morning that I'm rushing into your room, but not like a creeper, with a ball of goodness in my hand, and I'm throwing it at you so that you can have the most remarkable day like I am. And the more that you wake up and you go through your day confirming to yourself, this is who I am because this is how I behave. This is the way my thoughts work. This is the things that I do for me because this is my new identity. The more that your mind's like, oh, wait a minute. We behave in the way that we have decided a person with our desired outcome would behave. That's got to be our identity now. That's who we are. That's how you shift a state. And you may see that your desires change within that. I know that mine have, but my core desires have remained the same, right? The person that I would like to share love with has remained the same. The person that I would like to spend my time with has remained the same. The way that I want to spend my days has remained the same. The time that I want to have with my children has remained the same. But there's things within that that have kind of tweaked, right? Like the way that I want my career to look. The way that I'm presenting myself to others has changed. Small things like that have changed. So it's not to say like, oh, if you start this process, you're not going to want that person anymore. I don't believe in that. You'll still likely want them, or maybe you won't. And whatever it ends up being will be for your greater good, because you wouldn't have that desire if it wasn't. So I hope that you found this beneficial. Of course, now I'm like in the best mood ever, and I feel like I'm talking a million miles a minute, but I'm so excited about this stuff. And I just really feel like if you do what I recommend, and you take the steps to really show up for yourself, you can be so much happier in life, and you can really be fulfilled in your days. And I really want that for every single one of you. I do have a quick favor to ask of you. If you are finding this information beneficial and you think that this is helping you in some sort of way, it would really help me out if you were to share it. Growing a podcast is definitely part of my goals, and I would love to reach as many people as possible and to help as many people as possible. And that is helped by you. So if you find this beneficial, if you could share it with a friend, maybe share it on your social media account, whatever it is. If you have anything that you would like me to address on the podcast and you want me to talk about, feel free to send me a note. I absolutely love getting emails from people. I try to respond relatively quickly, but I love hearing from folks. So I am always looking for new content. If there's something that doesn't make sense or I'm not communicating well, I will take no offense. By all means, please reach out and let me know. that because I want this to be as beneficial as possible for as many people as possible. So I hope you have a beautiful week. I will be back on Wednesday with my regular episode, and I hope that you will join me. Thank you again for joining me today. If you'd like to learn more about all things going on with me, go ahead and visit my website at ceciliahendricks.com.